One of the hardest decisions when playing a Pokemon game is, of course, picking your starter. From generation to generation, we've always had to pick one of 3 starter Pokemon in the beginning of the game, whether it be a water type, grass type, or fire type. For whatever the reason, you chose that Pokemon because you had some type of connection with it. And over the years, we've had a variety of different starter Pokemon. However, some are way better in battle than others, and some of them just look better than others. But out of all the starter Pokemon, which ones are the worst? These are the starter Pokemon that hardly ever get picked. The ones that are just left sitting on that table to rot forever. So without further ado, here are the top 5 starter Pokemon that I think are the worst. One of the worst generations starter-wise was definitely Gen 5. Black and White gave us Oshawott, Snivy, and Tepig. None of them were anywhere near as good as the previous generation's starters, especially in battle, but one in particular was just useless in every way, and that would be Tepig. Yep, it was another firefighting type, the 3rd one in a row to be exact. But did it improve over the previous 2? Nope. In fact, it was very slow in battle, making it outclassed by Blaziken and Infernape. Not to mention that its design looked like something Katy Perry would wear. Competitively, no one is going to use Emboar over Blaziken and Infernape, making this starter completely useless. It was the first starter that I chose in Black and White, and while it was pretty decent for the story mode, that was about all it was good for. Afterwards, it just got replaced and never used again in this generation. Out of the Generation 4 starters, I would have to consider one of the worst in the bunch to be Piplup, mainly because of its final evolution, Empoleon, a steel water type Pokemon. Not only is it weak against electric types, but thanks to the secondary steel type, it's now weak against ground types and fighting types as well. And guess what the secondary types of the other 2 starters are? However, Empoleon does have a bit of a better edge now that fairy type's been introduced. But for the generation that it started in, Piplup was at a huge disadvantage, and anyone that picked it had very little of a fighting chance against the other 2 starters in battle. Yep, even Infernape, which it was supposed to have the advantage over. The typing of water and steel was just terrible. I'm not sure why they chose to make it that typing, but hey, at least it was cute. Once again, we're going back to take another look at another 5th generation starter. When these starters were first announced, many of us thought the best looking of the starters was Snivy, only to find out how horrible it was in battle. Its offensive move pool and stats are just bad. You have to use something like Leech Seed to even make it usable. At least Oshawott and Tepig, though not great, are still usable. They can defeat other Pokemon and get you through the game pretty quickly, but not Snivy. You have to Coil, Leech Seed, Leaf Blade, rinse and repeat every single battle, which took a lot longer and got pretty boring after a while. Some people might like that kind of moveset, but I guess it's just not for me. We've got plenty of better grass types that do a much better job in battle, making Snivy one I wouldn't recommend using. Chikorita is known by many fans as one of the worst starters ever, simply because it's pretty useless throughout the entire game of Gold and Silver. First gem is Flying type, and Chikorita is weak to flying types, so it can't help you there. Then the second gem, which is a bug type, and Chikorita just gets beaten once again. Then Whitney gives all the starters trouble. After that comes the ghost type gem, and Chikorita doesn't do very well in that either. 5th gem is a fighting type gem, and the gym leader uses a Poliwrath, which you'd think a grass type would have an advantage against. But by this point in the game, you probably already have other members on your team that are stronger than your Bayleaf because of how little you end up using it throughout the game. Steel gem, it's not very helpful. Ice gem, it gets destroyed again. And the dragon gem, it's not much help there either. But what about the attacks it can learn? Well, they're not great either. Chikorita has no advantage in any of the gems, unless you want to count Poliwrath. And instead, most of the gems have an advantage against Chikorita. I'm not sure why this ended up happening to Chikorita. Maybe the developers just ran out of time balancing things. I hate bashing on it because I actually love Chikorita's design. But besides that, it doesn't have much else going for it. All I can say is that if you're looking for a challenge as a trainer, choose Chikorita. And now, the #1 worst starter Pokemon of all time is Pikachu from Pokemon Yellow. Right from the beginning of the game, Oak gives you a Pokemon that he literally just caught fresh from the wild. It was literally useless in the first gym, so you had to catch a Caterpie or a Metapod and make it evolve into Butterfree to have a chance against defeating Brock. It's okay for the second gym, but by then you get a Bulbasaur, so if you train that, Pikachu becomes unneeded. Then for the third gym, catching a Diglett or Dugtrio is like an easy win for that. Fourth gym, which is the grass type gym, you'd probably have a Charmeleon or a Charizard by then. So once again, Pikachu's useless. It's just underwhelming for use in the rest of the game, but what's probably the worst aspect of it is that you can't evolve your Pikachu, simply because the game is trying to be like the anime, where Pikachu refuses to evolve. Pikachu's all like,
I ain't doing that.
"Thanks a lot, Ash." So your best bet is to either put it in the PC box or just release it, and pick up a Jolteon instead, cause you're gonna need it. Those are just my opinions on which of the starter Pokemon I think are the worst. I know that many of you might get upset because your favorite is on the list, but just remember that everyone has different choices over which is the best and which is the worst. I don't hate any of these Pokemon, I just wish that they would have gotten better stats to make them all as good as the other ones. Let me know what starter Pokemon you think was the worst in the comments section below. Thank you all for watching, this has been Brandon, and I'll see you guys in the next video.